Hello, this is Nanoburger here, and this is kind of my part 2 of how to modify your Yashica Samurai Z2. If you don't know what this is, just you can watch my other video. It gives you a little bit of an introduction to it. And in that video, I had mentioned that on the back here, on the Samurai Z, you had 2 additional buttons. The first one was an exposure compensation button, and the second one controlled a pretty sophisticated intervalometer, which is a kind of photographic-y term that just means that the camera takes pictures at a certain rate, let's say 1 a second or 1 an hour. You can do time-lapse stuff. You can do this all on one piece of film, like if you want to capture the moon rising or something along those lines on one piece of film. The classic example. However, this is the Z2. The Z had these features, but the Z2 is not. However, I read on the internet, and of course everything you read on the internet is true, that the Z2 camera actually has these features, except they've kind of dumbed it down for the public and did not put the 2 buttons on there, which sounds kind of crazy, but you see it happening all the time with digital cameras. They kind of cripple the features to sell the camera for a little bit less money. I'm sure there's a good capitalistic reason why this happens, but in the end here we have a camera that has the capability of doing some of this stuff, except you can't. So what I want to do is to add these 2 buttons back on here and see if the camera can be kind of upgraded to the Z model. I won't bore you with all the details because I haven't figured them out yet, but what I want to do is to drill 2 holes here and put buttons on here and have them interface with the printed circuit board on the bottom. However, what I will do is show you exactly what this looks like. And if you see here, let me turn this baby on. You'll see the data plate here, the data LED, which only has a certain amount of information on it, and we'll see if we can't get it to display some of the information that's concerned with these two additional buttons. Okay, what we have here is the insides. I've opened up the back. So this is the film chamber here, and this is the back that holds the interface on the opposite side. What we want to do first is to take off this retention spring here. To do that, it's easy enough. You have 1 screw there, 1 screw there. What I'm going to do is take these screws and put them in a parts tray, which is just a plastic thing, and I always like to put a magnet on the inside, unless you have a love of crawling around your hands and knees looking for small screws. I suggest you do that just to keep everything compartmentalized. So let's take off the probably not going to focus on that, but take them off, put them in the tray. And once you have the 2 screws out, this one is still on here a little bit. You can take off the spring, put that in the parts tray as well. Don't have to worry about that. Okay, once you do that, you have 4 screws that you have to take out. 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here, and 1 here. Now when you take off these screws, this entire panel, which includes the pressure plate and some other components here, will come off. And one thing that will come off as well is this foam light seal here. Unfortunately, it's glued on there, so it might rip. I think as I modify this, I might have to replace this with some closed cell foam. Should be a pretty easy fix. If that fails, you know, this window's not very important. I could cover it up with a piece of black tape and it would be just fine. But let's take out these. This is a screw that came out of the back hole, and it's a little bit longer. And this screw that came out of the this rear hole here, closest to the hinge, is significantly shorter. You can't really tell too much in this video, but you can tell which one is which. It's just important when you put this back together, which screw goes where. Okay. You don't want to, as you can see here, I kind of ripped the this light seal here. Don't get too upset about it. You can fix it later on, or just take it off and don't use it at all, which is what I'll do right now. So we've got the plate off, and if we pull it up here, we can see that we have all the buttons here. These are the buttons that interact with the rest of the camera. However, as you can see, this piece of silicone rubber here has been cut. It's almost as if they didn't want you to have these extra buttons here. And as you can see here in the plastic, actually have small places where the buttons are supposed to go. And let's look on the back here. These are the buttons that actually control what we can control, the 2 rows, but also we've got 2 buttons here which control something else which they're not telling us about. So let's turn the camera on. Okay. So the camera is still connected. There's a ribbon cable which is connecting this to the rest of the camera. And I've made a Q-tip with tin foil on it, or aluminum foil. And let's see if we can engage these buttons. Let's go here. Okay. That is something to do with the date. Okay. Okay, this one right here does the flash. Good enough. And let's see what these do. Oh, this one does something strange here. It comes up with a extra thing, some icons on there I've never seen before. And it is the much sought after exposure compensation. So you can go +2, if you keep on pressing it. You go to -2, and if you keep on pressing it, it'll go to 0, which eliminates that. Let's try this other button here. Okay, this other button has double exposure, or several exposures on one piece of film. Looks like a golf guy doing a golf swing. I'm not sure what that is. And we have one with a whole bunch of pictures, kind of rectangles. And we have, I guess this is the intervalometer. And then it goes back to normal again. So, obviously, the control panel does something. All we have to do is make these 2 buttons work. So, it seems pretty easy on the plasticky side here. All we have to do is to drill holes through those things. I'm looking for something that will interact with the camera. the best I could come up with was to take a remote control. This is an old remote control to something or other. But this one has some small buttons on it. This button right here and this button right here. What I plan to do is to take these buttons out of here and add them to the camera, and hopefully we'll be able to get the functionality of those two buttons back into the camera, which provides us with some additional features. Hello, Nano Burger here once again, and as I left you off last time, we were modifying this camera here. We are installing 2 additional buttons, which will add some additional capabilities to the camera. And I decided to make this video to show the operations of the new capabilities. First of all, looking inside, again what we did was took off this panel here, drilled some holes for the 2 buttons. We put 2 buttons that we got from a remote control in there, and put it all back together. And the only new thing I did here is this light seal. When I took it off, I ripped it, so instead of trying to repair that one, I just made a new one out of closed cell foam and glued it on there, and it works fine. The only real hitch I ran into is the buttons themselves. I took 2 off of a remote control. Unfortunately, the buttons were too small, or not too small, but not deep enough. So they actually worked fine, but they were very kind of recessed in there, and I had to get a piece of plastic or a toothpick or something to actuate the buttons. So I ripped those out and found some additional buttons from a different remote control. This one has the opposite problem. They kind of stick out comically here. So if you look at it, they kind of stick out here. I decided to just leave well enough alone and keep them like that. And the buttons do work fine. You have 2 extra buttons here. One on the left-hand side, as you're using the camera, is exposure compensation. And we'll try to give you a close-up of what happens once you press these buttons. First one is pretty self-explanatory. You hit it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. That gives you exposure compensation in the positive. And then you just keep on pressing it, and it will give you in the negative. Now this is nice if you're trying to change the, doing what it's used for is to expose for some special exposure situations. But you can also use it to kind of change your ASA, or ISO as we call it now, of the film. But you just keep on pressing it, it eventually goes away, and that means there's nothing. The more interesting one is on the right-hand side. It has some additional kind of fun-looking modes to it. The first one you have here is 2 overlapping rectangles. That is double exposure, essentially. And basically it will take the first exposure when you press the button, and you won't hear the film advancing. And then you can take another exposure, and we'll take that exposure and then advance the film. So let's give it a try here. It's on that mode right now. And we'll try to look at, okay, might have some difficulty focusing, but we'll see. Okay, as you can hear, it took the photo, but it didn't advance the film. And now we'll do it again. It will take the photo and advance the film. And it's difficult to hear, but that little zzz right at the end there means the film was advanced. So that will give you 2 exposures on the same frame of film. So let's do it once again. And of course we start off with the double exposure again, since it reverts back to having no mode once you're finished with using those 2 exposures. So the next one is the golf guy. This, as I read up on the internet, is a strange mode where it takes a quarter of a second, so 1/25 of a second, and it makes several exposures in that period of time, I think 5, onto the same frame of film. Interesting if you actually want to use it to analyze your golf swing, or just any fast-moving thing where you want to record it on the film itself. In the manual, they have a cat falling that they've taken some photos of, and it's mildly interesting. But we have it on that mode right now, and let's see what happens when we do it. What you'll see is the mirror getting up out of the way, and then the shutter firing several shots at the same, or not at the same time, but very quick succession. So it all goes kind of fast. So hopefully you can see or something and know a little bit what it does. So here we go. Focus. So you heard the mirror go up, and then kind of a stutter from the shutter that was giving its 5 exposures in a quarter second, and then shutting the mirror back down. Okay, well that's the golf guy. So we'll go through the golf guy, and the next one is a bunch of rectangles, 5 of them. And what this does is it takes the 5 photographs in quick succession, as long as you have your finger on the button. But it does it on different frames of film. And the difference between this mode and the burst mode that you have by doing the drive button is, first of all, this takes 5 and not 3 like the burst mode does. But this mode just takes one focusing instant, focuses, and then takes 5 exposures in rapid succession, but it doesn't refocus after each one. So it goes a little bit faster, and unfortunately, if your subject is out of focus, you know, you're stuck with it. But the other mode, the burst mode on the drive, actually focuses between each of the exposures, which it makes it take a little bit longer. So we got it right here. Let's see what it does. I'm just gonna press the shutter release and hold it down, and we should get 5 photos with film moving in between each one of them, but also not focusing again, so they should go pretty quick. Okay, focusing, and there we go. We got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you heard the film being drawn over there. So you just get one flip of the mirror and 5 exposures in quick succession, not focusing between each one of them. Okay, well let's move on. We've got the golf guy, we've got that guy, and this last one, I'm probably not going to go into it too much here, but this is the intervalometer. What you do once you get here, you can tell it to take however many pictures, and then it gives you a timing of how long between the pictures you can do it. So you could take up to 99 photos, since there's only 2 slots there, and up to from 1 second apart, or to 1 day apart, 24 hours. So theoretically, you could do 99 days, 1 photograph each day at a specific time. That's kind of unrealistic, since if you're doing 36 exposure roll in here, that's 72 exposures. So you'll probably, you know, you can take 1 a day for 72 days if you want. Intervalometers are kind of fun to play around with, but I think I've used maybe once or twice in my entire life, so I don't find that they're very, very useful. Last thing I want to do is show you the difference between the mode that we talked about earlier and when we do the drive mode here. We'll hit the drive mode, and this is the drive mode. It has 3 rectangles there. So it takes 3 photos, but it focuses in between each one of them, so they get to be a lot slower than the burst mode that we have in using this other button here. So let me give you an idea of what happens here. So we'll focus and hit. Okay. So as you can see, it went a lot slower than the other mode. The mirror goes down each time. So, however, it does focus in between, so you're more likely to get in focus shots. So that is the new capabilities we have on the Samurai Z2, which makes it an equivalent of a Samurai Z. So I encourage you to do this if you can make use of these additional capabilities. Thanks for watching.